Let's face a hard truth. When a man shows weakness, especially early in a relationship, many women don't comfort him. They distance themselves. They pull back, lose respect, or even walk away completely. It feels cruel, confusing, and unfair. You open up, show your feelings, and instead of connection, you get silence. But here's what most men don't understand. It's not the feeling that gets punished, it's how you carry it. Because whether she says it or not, she's watching to see if you can handle life or if you'll collapse under pressure. She's not just attracted to your charm, she's attracted to your stability, your strength, your ability to lead. And when that breaks, even for a moment, the dynamic shifts. That's not toxic, it's instinctual. But here's the powerful part. Once you understand this dynamic, you can stop chasing sympathy and start leading yourself with strength and clarity. You don't have to suppress emotion. You just have to own it like a man. Here's how to stop being punished and start commanding respect. Many men misunderstand what it means to be emotionally open. They believe that showing every emotion, every doubt and every breakdown will create deeper connection. But the truth is, when you expose your emotions without control or direction, it doesn't build closeness. It erodes respect. Women aren't turned off by emotion itself. They're turned off when a man becomes overwhelmed by his own emotions and looks to them to fix it. It's not the vulnerability that's the problem. It's the inability to stay centered while being vulnerable. Emotional control doesn't mean becoming cold or suppressing how you feel. It means having the strength to process your emotions without dumping them on someone else. It's the ability to say, "Yes, I'm struggling right now," without falling apart or making her responsible for your inner peace. That control is what earns respect. When you can stand in your pain, frustration, or confusion and still hold your composure, you show real masculine strength. That's when a woman sees you as reliable. That's when she feels safe trusting your leadership because you're not emotionally chaotic. The moment you start spiraling in front of her, venting endlessly, complaining about life, seeking comfort, like a lost boy, you shift the dynamic. She no longer sees you as the rock she can lean on. Instead, she sees a man she has to hold up. And over time, that burden makes her pull away. On the other hand, if you show her that you can feel and manage your emotions without needing to be rescued, she respects you more. You show her that you're human, yes, but also solid, composed, and dependable. That's what makes a man attractive. Not the absence of emotion, but the ability to control and channel it with strength. When a woman pushes your buttons, becomes distant, questions your decisions, or suddenly changes her tone, it can feel like rejection. But more often than not, she's testing something deeper than your patience. She's testing your strength. These tests are rarely conscious. They're not calculated attacks or manipulations. They're instinctual. She wants to know, can you handle her? Can you stay grounded when things get uncomfortable? Can you remain the man she was initially drawn to even when things aren't easy? Women test because they seek emotional safety. They want to feel secure in your presence, not just physically, but emotionally. If every time there's tension, you break down, argue back impulsively, or beg for validation, it signals to her that you can't hold space for her complexity. That you crumble when pressure is applied. And the moment she senses that, her attraction begins to fade. Not because she doesn't care, but because your emotional instability makes her feel unsafe. On the flip side, when you pass her tests by staying calm, composed, and centered, it does the opposite. It reassures her that you are not easily shaken, that you don't take everything personally, and that you can lead the emotional tone of the relationship. That kind of presence makes her respect you more. It reignites attraction. Not because you dominated her, but because you stood firm in who you are. These tests aren't obstacles to avoid. They're opportunities to show your emotional maturity. The key is not to overreact or try to fix her feelings, but to remain grounded in yours. When you do that, you remind her that you are a man who doesn't just look strong, you are strong. And that is deeply attractive in ways words can't fully explain. Many men make the mistake of constantly seeking reassurance from women, especially when the relationship feels uncertain. They ask if everything is okay, if she still loves them, if she's pulling away, or why she's acting differently. This behavior doesn't create connection, it creates pressure. It signals to her that your emotional stability depends on her words, her mood, and her validation. And that dependence slowly chips away at the attraction. A woman doesn't want to feel like she's emotionally responsible for your sense of self. When she senses that you're looking to her to feel secure, she starts to question your strength. And not because she's heartless, but because biologically and emotionally, she's wired to be drawn to men who lead themselves. When you constantly seek comfort from her, it flips the roles. You become the one needing to be held up, and she becomes the one doing the holding. That dynamic kills desire over time. Self-validation is the skill that changes everything. When you can ground yourself, regulate your own emotions, and remind yourself of your value without needing outside confirmation, you shift the power back to you. You stop chasing her approval. You stop reacting to every change in her behavior. Instead, you move with quiet confidence, knowing that you are enough regardless of how she feels in the moment. The irony is, the less you seek reassurance, the more secure she starts to feel around you. Because now she sees a man who can stand on his own, a man who doesn't fall apart when things get tense. And that's the kind of energy women are magnetically drawn to. Not the man who needs her to constantly affirm him, but the man who affirms himself and invites her to join his strength. There's a difference between expressing your emotions and making them someone else's problem. Many men confuse openness with overexposure. They think sharing every detail of their pain or struggle proves honesty and vulnerability, but what often happens is emotional dumping. When you release everything onto a woman without managing it, yourself first, you create emotional weight she didn't sign up to carry. This doesn't build connection, it creates pressure, and over time, it can lead to emotional fatigue on her end. Women aren't afraid of emotion. They feel deeply themselves. But what they're drawn to is emotional leadership, a man who can express what he feels without letting it control him or derail the moment. When you lead your emotions, you're not suppressing them. You're simply filtering them through a frame of self-awareness and strength. You're letting her know what's going on inside you, but without putting her in a position where she has to fix it. Emotional leadership means owning your pain without placing it on her shoulders. You can say, "I've had a tough day," without spiraling into hopelessness. You can admit you're struggling without needing her to become your therapist. When she sees that you're capable of being emotionally honest and emotionally grounded, her respect for you deepens. She sees a man who feels, but still stands firm, a man who's real, but not reactive. This balance is rare and powerful. When you stop leaking emotion impulsively and start leading it intentionally, you shift the entire relationship dynamic. You become a calming force, not a chaotic one. You become someone she can lean into, not someone she has to tiptoe around. And that makes you not only more attractive, but someone she can trust fully. In any relationship, a woman looks for emotional security. She wants to feel like, no matter what's going on in the world or in her own heart, the man she's with is steady. That's why being the rock, not the river, is so important. A rock is grounded, unmoved by the storms around it. A river, on the other hand, gets tossed and turned by every change in direction. If you're constantly reacting, overthinking, or seeking emotional rescue, you become the river, driven by emotion, not anchored in strength. Women are naturally emotional beings, and part of what they crave in a relationship is balance. When you are grounded, when you don't let every mood, argument, or moment of distance shake you, she feels safe. Not just safe from harm, but safe to be herself, to express her own emotions, to trust your leadership. Your calm becomes her calm. Your strength becomes the space where she can relax her own guard. Being the rock doesn't mean being cold or distant. It means you don't get pulled into emotional chaos. You listen without panic. You respond without overreacting. You're present, but not overwhelmed. You're supportive, but not needy. That's the energy that makes her lean in. That's what makes her chase. Not because you're playing games, but because you're providing something rare and deeply attractive, a sense of unshakable security. The truth is, when you become emotionally reliable, not just available, you raise your value in her eyes. She stops questioning your role in her life because you've shown that you can handle whatever comes without losing yourself. In a world full of emotional rivers, be the rock. That's how you stop being punished for showing weakness and start being respected for your quiet strength.